So for we're also going to have to interact with forms to be able to provide some input information, as the names of the modules, the names of the courses that we're creating, and so let's take a look at how we can work with that. So here we have an example of rendering the list of modules dynamically, and oftentimes we like to be able to add fields to add new modules or add new courses or whatnot. For instance, an input field such as this. We could add perhaps an input field at the top of the module list. Right? So for instance, here in the module list, perhaps the very first element might be, we can have a class name list group item. So here's an empty element, right? And perhaps in here we could put an input field in there. So we can have maybe input class name form elements, form control. Oops. Oh, maybe we have to close that. There it is. So we have a form element in there, and maybe we can. There's some more nifty elements in Bootstrap that allows you to combine an input field with a button, like a plus on the right-hand side. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to be lazy and just add a button down below here. So with button, add module, and maybe just paint it a little bit. There it is. It looks too ugly, so I'm just going to paint this a little bit. So this would be class name, button primary. So that looks a little better, and maybe paint it to take out the entire width of that controller. There it is. That's a little better, but there's nicer buttons combinations of input fields and buttons. So take a look in Bootstrap. So what we'd like to be able to do is identify when you click this button, right, and to read whatever input field you might have, and perhaps add it to the current state of modules that we have so far. So let's take a look at how we might do that. What we're going to need to do is that as we interact with the elements, we need to keep track of the state of each one of these input fields. Every keystroke, we need to make sure that we maintain the state of that input field, right? So we store it somewhere as we go. So what we're going to do is that we're going to notify an event handler whenever that input field has changed. At the very end, right when we. So let's do that. So let's this input field, we're going to notify on change that the title has changed. Right, on change this dot title changed, and we'll have a function that handles that. So this is the function. We'll say here's the function, and this will be event. Actually, we could use the new syntax, and then we can do console log event. So let's see, and console title change, this title change. Do I need to register it? This dot bind in the constructor. There it is. So it's notifying. Although I thought you didn't have to. Wait a minute. All right. Yeah, I don't need to. If you use the new syntax, of using the ES6 syntax like this, you don't need to bind it. Right? You don't need to bind it like I was doing here. This little you do need this if you use the old syntax of declaring the function. Parentheses and then the constructor, because in the old syntax, the keyword this has a different meaning, right? This has a funny behavior in in older versions of JavaScript, and so here if you use the new syntax version, it has the right meaning, right? There's no need to for this at all. All right. So what we're going to do is that we're going to store in our current state what is the new title that you want me to use. Right. So every time you click on this, we're going to take from the event that generated this keyword stroke. We're going to take the target, which is the input field, right? And we're going to take the value of that input field, and it will be whatever you have typed so far, and we're going to store it in the current state of the component, right? So that we're keeping track of every single stroke that you are making, right? So we're going to copy that. We're also going to initialize a state of the new title, the module title. We're going to initialize the new module title, and we're going to initialize it to be empty. Right? So that will be the module when you say, okay, that is the new module that I want. You know, by default, the title will be empty. We're going to update it as you type. Right? So what we're going to do is that we're going to use this function. This dot set state, right? This dot set state manipulates that state variable, right? And will only modify the field that you tell it to modify. It won't replace the entire state. It will only modify the element that you tell it to. In this case, we are only modifying the module. We're not doing anything with modules. Right? Modules still contains the array of all the modules. Yeah. So this is not a replace. It's only an edit. You know, it modifies and updates that particular field in that state. So let's copy that. And in the title change, it's only modifying modules, and it's giving it the new value of title event.target value. So it's replacing this empty string with whatever we just typed. Okay? And finally, we would like to be able to have a button that when we click it, right, it goes on and actually adds it to the list. So here's our button, and we're going to have an on-click. We have an on-click that, where's our button? There it is. And good practice is to put these in all separate lines so that it's easy to read for all our fellow developers. So here's our on-click to call create module. And create module, we're going to use the new syntax. And it's going to have the, it's actually not going to pass anything. Or we don't really care what the event handler is going to pass. We just want to know that you clicked it. And what we're going to do is that we're going to manipulate the state again. We're going to take this modules array, and we're going to append to this module array. Right? We're going to take the old state, we're going to replace it with this new state that has an additional module. Right? So let's render this create module. Create module. We're going to say this dot set state that has these modules whose value is going to be the original modules plus this new element of title with whose title is what? This dot state dot module dot title. Oh no, it's we already have the module, right? So this could be this dot state dot module. Is that not the syntax of I thought it was. Modules is not defined. Modules. Oh, so this is this dot state dot modules. There it is. So it adds it at the bottom, right? So just a couple of new syntax here. This is also new to ES6. Notice the dot, dot, dot operator there. The dot, dot operator says, take all the elements that are already in that array, right, and just copy them over. Right? So take them and just expand them, right, and just make them available here. And comma says, right, so the new array is going to be whatever the old array had, right, plus I'm going to append this dot state module. So this dot state module, right, this dot state module is what we've been manipulating, right? It's just this state. It has it's just an array. It's an object that looks like any of the other objects, right? It has a title element, right? That started as an empty value, but then we've been updating it repeatedly through this title changed. Make sense? Make sense? All right. So we know how to add. Obviously we would like to be able to remove it, right? So for that you would need to have like a splice. Splice the element that you clicked on, right? And you would update the state with that array minus the object that you clicked on, that you removed. But that I'll leave to you.